What up, world? Welcome to another jam-packed episode of the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Wright, coming to you from the beautiful and sunny confines of Atlantic City, New Jersey. Wherever you may be watching or listening, I thank you as always. Like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel. You can check the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast not only here on YouTube, but on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Substack, Patreon, Trovo, and as well as on Podbean. Happy to be here on this beautiful September 15, 2025. On this beautiful morning. Happy birthday, Mom. Dropping this NFL Week 2 recap video. I watched about 3 to 4 different games yesterday. We want to chronologize these games and go over the games, things what I saw, liked and didn't like, and think roots for improvement for all teams included within this episode. Also, for my Substack subscribers, definitely check the articles and the links will be posted for my page subscribers for the Week 2 recap, so definitely check that out. But before we get started, I definitely want to make sure we give a shout out to one of the friends of the show. If you guys are familiar with StubHub, one of the big friends of the show, one of the biggest friends of the show, the #1 leading seller in the world for tickets to live events, shows, and concerts. StubHub right now has everything that you need for college football season tickets, NBA tickets, WNBA tickets, MLB regular season, and playoff tickets. I implore you to please jump out on this opportunity right now before these tickets are sold out. Also, as well, for my avid PlayStation gamers out there, I implore you to check out the description box of this video with the link to PlayStation Direct. If you're looking for a console, a controller, accessories, anything to help immerse or enhance your PlayStation experience, I implore you to check it out. Sony PlayStation, more than a game. All right, guys, so we're going into this episode, Week 2 recap. I hope you guys were able to enjoy your Sunday of NFL football like I did. It was a very, very exciting weekend. Like I said, episode 131, we're going to hop into this. It was crazy. We're going to start with Cowboys-Giants. You know how you watch a game and you kind of think in your mind, it has a chance, a propensity to be a high-scoring game, or it has a chance to really, catch your attention or make you really want to watch. It's funny because in the first and second quarter, I was going through my notes and I was sitting there yesterday and I'm watching this and, I'm like, damn, it just feels like this is a back and forth game that's going to come down to whoever can score last. But at that point, it was a tight game. It was 13-10, 20-10, that type of game. So you didn't really feel like it was that insurmountable. I mean, just to give you an idea, by the end of the second quarter, the game was 13-10 in the Giants' favor. Both teams had exchanged some field goals. Both teams had scored a couple of touchdowns on drives where, let's be honest, the Giants scored on a 7-play, 70-yard drive. Cowboys scored on a 13-play, 49-yard drive. Just one of those games where clearly whoever had the last bullet in the gun was going to win. It came down to a situation where in the third quarter, scoring was still at a minimum. It was just one of those situations where both teams just were kind of still filling each other out. But as that fourth quarter ensued, that was possibly one of the most exciting fucking fourth quarters ever scored or ever seen in a Giants-Cowboys game. I think during the broadcast, Greg Olsen stated that I think that was the most points scored in a rivalry in a fourth quarter game in like a long time. It's just insanity. It just shows you how the Giants were due for a good offensive game. It also lets you know too, the NFC East is wild. I mean, this is just essentially what happens when you are playing. When you are playing and you are playing a team that can really, take you to the woodshed or really, take you to that next level for it on you, you got to really bring that competitive fire and energy. I thought both teams did that today. The Giants offense, in all honesty, looked a little bit better, although I would contest and say that though their offense looked a little bit better, it was really the ineptitude of the Cowboys early on not being able to finish drives. And that's ultimately why, the Giants were able to hang in this game. You ultimately felt like the Cowboys were going to win. It was just a situation of, could the Giants pull off this upset? Could they go in there and shock the world? It just seemed very reminiscent of Georgia and Tennessee over the weekend, where Georgia, has been beating Tennessee since 2017. Tennessee's last victory was 2016. Same thing with the Giants and Cowboys. Last victory in Dallas Stadium against the Cowboys, it was Eli Manning in 2016. So the Giants, clearly the odds were not in their favor, but they came out with a hell of a game plan, effort, energy. They definitely applied it. But one of the things that I think ultimately helped kill this team yesterday now was penalties. Both teams had a lot of penalties. Both teams are very undisciplined. Both teams are young. play very nasty, nasty work style football, meaning sloppy penalties, mental lapses, mental mistakes, things of that nature. That being said, if you're the Giants, you have 14 penalties for 160 yards. That's not conducive to a winning football game. And the Cowboys weren't any better. 12 for 106. They were trying to give the game away. Both teams were 6 of 14 on third down. Both teams had went for it at least once on fourth down. But again, the red zone, the Giants not being able to finish drives. Cowboys 3 for 3 in the red zone. Giants 1 for 5. Time possession even goes to the Cowboys. So it just came down to a situation where the Giants knew if they could hold on long enough, they might be able to pull it off. But, as you go into that fourth quarter, like I said, insane. You get Cam Scatterbo scoring, Miles Sanders scoring, big touchdown. Wan'Dale Robinson gets open. It's 30-27. And I wrote in my notes, Dak has time. Can he pull it off? He does. He gets a touchdown to George Pickens. It's a 4-point game. And then Malik Neighbors. Russell Wilson played out of his fucking mind yesterday. Have not seen a game like that from Russell Wilson in years. 450 yards on 41 attempts, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. If he plays like that more consistently, the Giants would be very happy with what they get from Russell Wilson. Bit of an anomaly, not really the average or the mean, so take that with a grain of salt. But Malik Neighbors, 9 receptions, 167 yards. He definitely showed up. CeeDee Lamb for the Cowboys had 9 for 112. This just becomes a situation where you clearly see that the Giants were doing everything they possibly can to win the game. It's 37-34. Like I said, Russell's on fire. Giants offense at this point was on fire, but it came down to the Cowboys getting downfield late, getting in position for Brandon Aubrey to make a kick. And essentially that's what happened, because when Brandon Aubrey, he's just been an ultimate weapon for this team. At one point, he kicked a 64-yard field goal. He kicked multiple field goals, but I believe the one to win the game was a 64-yard field goal, I want to say. 46, excuse me. But it was a 64-yarder he had hit early in the game. Just 64-yarder to go to overtime, that's what it was. It's just one of those things where, like I said, got to give the Cowboys credit. They were able to pull out a gritty, gutsy, high-scoring victory. Giants really deserve props, because I don't even know the last time the Giants even scored 30 points in a game. I want to say it's been a long time, but even at that fourth quarter, here from Pro Football Reference, it says here also via Google AI, the highest scoring fourth quarter in a game between the Giants and Cowboys occurred yesterday. In that game, the two teams combined for 41 points in the fourth quarter. So exciting. There were 6 lead changes in that quarter. And like I said, Brandon Aubrey had a 64-yard field goal as time expired to take it to overtime. So you gotta love the effort and the energy of what you saw from the Cowboys. If you're a Giants fan, you're not happy that you lost, but you're happy with the energy and effort that was put up. Definitely a great game. Both teams' defenses suck. I think that's clearly fairly obvious. Both teams' defenses are not good. They'll have their moments, I'm pretty sure, but that was just, by no stretch of the imagination did you feel like if you're a defensive coordinator, you should hang your hat to that and be like, I'm proud of that performance. No, it was quite shitty. It was quite shitty. So got to give the Cowboys credit, but now it's one of those situations where the Giants 0-2. It's going to get worse. It's going to get a little bit harder. Not sure how things play out for them, but we shall see. Going forward into the next game, we're going to talk about the Bills versus Jets. I'm not going to waste too much time on this, because I don't want you guys to even think that I'm going to waste a bunch of time on this. I watched this game with hope and, objectivity, thinking there's no way in hell that the Jets are going to shit the bed. After that performance that they had last week against the Steelers, they're going to come out and play the type of game they need to play. Boy, was I fucking wrong. That was horrible. That was an ass whooping of epic proportions. Situation where Josh Allen had to leave the game at some point. Wasn't sure if he was coming back. Didn't know what happened. Looked like he had a bloody nose. Looks like he got hit on the fall from being tackled. However it shaped out, the Jets are not in the same class as the Buffalo Bills. It is evident. It is clear. It is not even to be. It's not even to be misconstrued. They fucking suck. 30-10. You got Justin Fields going out with a concussion. Just think about this, guys. Tyrod Taylor as the backup had 56 yards passing. You got Justin Fields, 3 of 11, 27 yards. Garbage. QBR of 1.1. And then you got Tyrod Taylor, 7 of 11, 56 yards. QBR 93. He leads to a touchdown pass. These growing pains are going to happen for Justin Fields, but this is why, games like this is why the Steelers, the Bears have had trepidation about making him the long-term starter. I'm not saying guys can't have bad games. Everyone is doing a bad game. However, to play like that, where you've thrown the ball 11 times and only completed it 3 times, and your backup threw it for the same amount. So clearly, the game plan was real simple: run more than throw. They got out on you early. It got you out of your game plan. But I mean, hell, he was only averaging 2.5 yards per throw. It was, I mean, at least Tyrod Taylor was averaging 5. I mean, it just, that was embarrassing. If you were a Jets fan, you were glad it was over. They're, like I said, not in the same class as the Buffalo Bills. I think that's very indicative and very obvious. Jets couldn't get anything going. It was just one of those games where if you were a Jets fan, you were hoping it ended a lot sooner than what it needed to be because, yeah, it was fucking embarrassing. It was fucking embarrassing. Just bad game overall. All right, guys, so going a little bit further, we're going to go to the last game of the night, which was the Sunday night football game. And I must admit, this game kind of threw me for a loop because, you know, I honestly thought with the momentum that Minnesota had, they were going to kind of carry that over into the next week. You know, be prepared mentally, be emotionally sharp and sound, playing a Falcons team that on paper, they're better than they should beat. But that's why the games aren't played on paper. Obviously, the Falcons were able to win the game 22-6 last night, defeating the Vikings in Minnesota, Minneapolis, Minnesota. So here's essentially what it comes down to, right? You're watching this game, and I mean, my notes here, just going over my notes. You saw early on Bijan Robinson couldn't be stopped. That was pretty indicative there. You saw early on 3rd down that the Falcons were having a little bit of struggle, but not really too much. They kind of doing, moving the ball. They just, whether penalties or, penalties or drop pass or, something like that, or fumble from Drake London, that will cause the drive to stall. But essentially, they were ready for whatever Minnesota had. Bijan Robinson was the key, 22 carries, 143 yards, averaging 6.5 per carry, very much electric. Bijan was a beast last night. And like I said, he was the catalyst for the Atlanta Falcons. And I wrote in my notes, he was clearly going to be the X factor for the game. You can see that Minnesota has a clear weakness stopping the run. It's not something that they are really great at yet, which is kind of surprising with a Brian Flores defense, but something that they're not good at yet. It is what it is. Then, of course, first drive for the Vikings. They started off strong. However, went forward on 4th down on the QB sneak. That gets stopped, kind of derails things, puts the team behind the 8 ball. You go a little bit further. It's mostly a field goal game. Nothing real sexy. I mean, both, like, if you look at the passing output, both quarterbacks had 21 attempts, so you could clearly see that the offensive coordinators and the coaches weren't trying to have the games heavily relying on these young men, allow their teammates to help them win the game. Michael Penix, 13 of 21, 135 yards. You had J.J. McCarthy, who was horrible last night, 11 of 21, 2 interceptions, 158 yards. I'll dive into McCarthy in a little bit, but just going over the synopsis of the game, obviously I've mentioned the Drake London fumble, which was a drive killer right there for the Falcons. I think had they got further yards in the possession there, you probably would have got more points out of that possession. Minnesota capitalized and settles for a field goal, but that was really the difference. Minnesota had to settle for field goals, could not finish drives with touchdowns. It was something that clearly they're going to look at the tape and realize the turnovers were a clear problem. The penalties were a clear problem. And then when you can't win on 3rd down, it just puts you behind the 8 ball so badly where you're lining up to punt on every fucking drive. So it was a rough game for J.J. McCarthy. Naturally, he did have a big completion to Justin Jefferson before halftime, which put them in a situation where they were down 9-6. And again, listen to the score; it was only 9-6. You get into that 3rd, 4th quarter, and I'm combining it here, just my notes. Atlanta's up 12-6. They kick a field goal to start the 3rd. Bijan continues to make life hell for the Vikings defense. And then McCarthy fumbles. And then, Atlanta gets the field goal, they capitalize on it. And then, Minnesota's on defense. It's very evident, a blind man, Stevie Wonder could have saw that they were just trying to get the Vikings to jump off sides. Vikings jump, extends the drive. Tyler Algier runs in for a touchdown. Pretty much sealed the game 22-6. And then McCarthy throws an interception late that just pretty much ended it. J.J. McCarthy has, and I would say possibly in the past 7 quarters, played 5 of them. And it's been, out of the 5 of the 7 quarters he's played, it's been some of the worst football I've seen from a quarterback. He's not a bum by any stretch of the imagination, but he's a young guy who definitely needs more reps. It's kind of scary because this team won 14 games last year. And you're only 2 games into the season. It's not like the year is over already, but it is kind of startling that they're strikingly bad and limited like this on offense when you have Justin Jefferson. You will have Jordan Addison back after this 3rd game coming off the suspension, but he has weapons. Now, he did have Aaron Jones walk out late yesterday with a hamstring injury. Go figure that, Aaron Jones, after 1 or 2 games, always has a hamstring injury. But, he's got to play a lot better if this team's going to have any shot of being successful or even making the playoffs, because playing games like that, where you just, the energy's out of the room early and, it's just like he seems like everything's a fight. Just too much. And it becomes too much at times, and it becomes a situation where you put your team just, you're in a situation where you're chasing and just becomes too much. And in a team like Atlanta, where you got to give Atlanta credit, though they're young, their defense stepped up tremendously last night. I mean, their defense literally was the deciding factor in this game. So got to give them credit. And yeah, essentially they pulled out the victory. They're now 1-1. The Vikings are also 1-1. So even it out, but if you're the Vikings, definitely got to get to the drawing board, and definitely if you're O'Connell, got to figure out what it was that had McCarthy, just having McCarthy struggling so much starting out. But that's going to do it for this episode, guys. As always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I love you guys for plugging in. And I will have another episode coming for the Monday Night Football game tonight, the doubleheader. So definitely stay tuned in for that. Take care and enjoy the rest of your Monday.